Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Angel of Night radio show, and I am your host, Lord Rick. In tonight's show, I'm going to cover various topics about some news articles. This is something I'm going to start doing a little more often, because every day I send out about 30 to 40 articles to some of my forums. Some of the articles are very good. Some of them are just odd news. Some of them are about ancient historical sites, ghosts, the paranormal, UFO sightings, crop circles, chemtrails, and conspiracies. But I would like to elaborate on a few different stories and, just give my personal opinion on them and go over them a little bit more. Also, the reason for my webcast is that I'd like to advertise our newly reformed MySpace paranormal group. The old one was deleted, which is probably a good thing. It's nice to keep things spiced up and a little bit different and see who the loyal members are and so on. So the group's reformed, members are joining, there's participation going on, a lot of good people. So if you want to inquire the link to the group, just feel free to email me or contact me off the site, or just look us up on MySpace, the Paranormal and Ghost Society. And I would like to say that, I realize that I'm not the best radio show host, but, the purpose of the radio show is really for my fans and my members. And it's a way for me to communicate, and I can do it in a mass amount. I can sit here and I can do a radio show and a webcast, and other people can download it, and I can send them the copies, and, we keep it archived, and eventually we'll probably just post it directly on our site, or we'll be using a service to be doing this through. Maybe have some other sites air our radio show programs, things of that sort. But anyways, there is some really good news I'd like to relate to my fans. The Paranormal and Ghost Society had just opened a few new forums. They're discussion forums. I have actually put a private forum into the website. Right now it's in the beta testing stage. I may keep it, I may not keep it. It all depends. I really don't need it. It's just a bonus for my fans to join and have private discussions. But we also are hitting a lot of mainstream services, and we're creating public forums. That way we get the word out of who we are, what we're about. And it draws in a lot of good people. It draws in investigators. And we can fill the various positions that we have available through the Paranormal and Ghost Society. Right now we're going to be looking for moderators, paranormal investigators in the Central Florida area and out in California. I'm going to be looking for some publicists. And we just want to fill the various positions. We want people to get involved, buy a t-shirt, donate, post on the forums, make friends. That's all it is about. It's just about having good times. I've never done this for the money. I've never done it for the fame. I do it because I like making friends. I like to party. I like to have fun. I like to see and do things. And that's all it's really about. And I want others to get involved so I can share these things with them. Also, I hope that all the dads on the list had a nice Father's Day weekend. Being a father is one of the most rewarding things anybody could ever do. I have 3 kids. They're all characters. My middle one, he's got ADD and ADHD, and he's pretty active. My youngest one, he beats everybody up because he's the bully, and he's solid. And my oldest one, he's just straight out lazy, loves his video games, and he's a hell of a football and hockey player, and it's just one of the most rewarding things. And it's probably, for me, my sons is what keeps me going, keeps me doing my work, because my sons have always been into the paranormal just like me, and they've always had that ability to actually see ghosts, and they're somewhat clairvoyant, clairaudient, but it seems my oldest is able to see a lot of the entities that I bring home with me from my investigations. He's quite a talented kid, and who knows, down the road he might follow in my footsteps as a paranormal investigator. I think with some paranormal investigators and people who get involved in the occult and the paranormal, I think it's in their genetics. I think it's in their bloodline. I think it starts off at a young age, kind of like me. When I was 5 years old, I was having experiences with different entities, and it drew in a lot of curiosity growing up. And I blocked that out. And later down the road, I was able to open it up again and become more in tune with things. I remember when I was a child once, I had a playroom at a very old house, and I sat there and I watched this black entity walk from one section of the room to the closet. It went in the closet, it closed the closet, and it disappeared. And it was just a solid entity, just a silhouette, but it was completely solid black. You know, and these type of experiences is what makes a paranormal investigator. You know, and that's what makes all paranormal investigators special, is that they develop these skills and these abilities and things over time based on their experiences. Of course, you know, I've been doing this a pretty long time. I've been running my own organization, and I sometimes bite off more than I can chew, and I take on a lot of forums and a lot of emails and research and everything else, but, you know, I respect every group that's out there. There's a lot of groups that work hard, and they don't get a lot of credit. It's like our group, you know, we get media attention and such, but often, you know, there's groups out there that they'll go around and they'll steal from you and take credit for your hard work, and you know, that's very sad. But we have no problem working with other groups, and I hope that, you know, we can work with other paranormal groups in the future during my travels. And you know, this is probably one of the hardest jobs that I've ever had to do, and I'm going to explain why to my members. It's one of these things that, you know, the paranormal, it's a contradictive subject. You know, it contradicts a lot of religions, a lot of beliefs, and, you know, and over time, you know, some people, they say, show me the proof, show me it exists. And it doesn't matter how good the evidence is, there's always going to be skeptics, people who don't believe. And, you know, you can deal with them only so much, but the thing is that it takes a lot of motivation to keep going out every weekend to haunted places. I mean, you know, some weekends you go out, you almost get hit by a drunk driver, or, you know, you get stuck in a ditch, or you blow your tires off-roading, you know, and you got to keep climbing and climbing the mountain and climbing to the top, and it just doesn't end. It's one of the harder jobs that I've ever had to do. And not really a job, more like a passion, is that, you know, trying to get people together to have a common goal. It's a very difficult thing, because nobody's ever going to see eye to eye. Nobody's ever going to share your view. And that's where the respect factor comes in from one paranormal investigator to another in this field. But having your own paranormal organization is just a lot of effort. You figure between the research and the interviewing you do, and the write-ups and the reports and the photography and the driving and the money you spend for the site, the equipment, the film, the development, it's a lot of work. And then you got to deal with people that just don't believe your work, even if your work is genuine and you've actually seen this with your eyes. And it's very hard to put a team together, because you can find people anywhere to go with you, but you got to find the right people that get along with you, the right clique that work together as a collective. There's a lot of skeptics out there, and maybe they're skeptical because something happened when they were younger, and they have a hard time believing it now, or they've shut it out. Or maybe they're skeptical because of all the hoaxers out there. And there's a lot of people out there, they'll lie to get where they are today. It's just like the Bigfoot footage that was taken up in California, the Gimlin film. You know, it's a hoax. A lot of people came forward that it is, but it exists, and a lot of people, you know, still believe in it. while others do not. But we all know it's a hoax. I mean, a gorilla suit was ordered about, I don't know, a couple weeks before the whole film footage took place, which is kind of suspicious. And the family came forth about the video footage. And that really ruins any cryptozoologist or parapsychologist's chances of getting a name in the paranormal community, especially people like myself who capture multiple apparitions. And we do get Bigfoot evidence as well, because our paranormal group just does not cover ghosts. We cover a little bit of everything. And our organization doesn't have any limits to what we'll do. You know, we deal with abandoned houses, asylums, catacombs, tunnels, ships. I mean, we've done all kinds of crazy places. And I'd like to continue to do this, and I cannot wait till I move out west, because we'll be able to investigate all kinds of different places. A lot of places are going to be up in the mountains, very secluded. And I got to start thinking about putting a team together out west, because what we're dealing with out west is mountain lions, giant bear. We're dealing with a whole different terrain. A lot more alien abductions going on out west than in the East Coast. So we got a lot of obstacles we're going to be having to overcome. I'd like to leave Florida and go out with a blaze of glory. So we're going to be doing a lot of investigations soon. As soon as I can get a different vehicle and a few drivers and investigators going. I've been taking the last month or two off, you know, just to relax, and the gas prices are starting to drop, which is a good thing. It's going to be beneficial for our investigations. But when I get busy, look out, because we're going to be doing a lot of investigations each week coming up. And we're going to be going to Jacksonville. We're going to be going to Tampa Bay. I'm going to go to Savannah probably in October up in Georgia, which is one of the most haunted cities in the country. So we got a lot of things planned. A lot of good things going on. Lastly, before I get into some paranormal discussions, just wondering if anybody in Central Florida area would like some kittens. My cat had 5 kittens. I'm going to be giving away about 3 of them. Right now they're only 5 weeks old, but they're very advanced. I've litter trained them already. They almost eat solids. They ate their first table food today. I mean, they're really good cats. Very lovable, very smart. My bed sits up over almost 3 feet high, and they can already get up to the top of the bed. So they're very strong cats, but I spend most of the day lately playing with them. And I'm going to really hate to part with them, so I'd like to give them to a good home. So if anybody is interested, just let me know. Drop me an email. Let me know through the site or through the forums. That's fine. Also, I'd like to at least say that the 21st is coming up. The anniversary of my friend's death, Robert Carr. And I'd like everybody to take a moment of silence on the 21st for him. He was a good explorer. He was not much of a believer in the paranormal, which made him so different, because, you know, we take friends of all likes and kinds in our organization. It doesn't matter whether you believe or you don't believe, or whether you like Bigfoot but you don't like the Loch Ness Monster. And he helped me with a couple investigations, and he believed in us, and that's all that mattered. And he was killed by a drunk driver. And you know, I would like to say to all the people who drink and drive, don't do it. It's just not worth hurting somebody, taking an innocent life away. And I feel that it's important to remember the people that made a difference in our lives. And Robert Carr did make a difference in my life, even as a paranormal investigator. And he was 19 years old. And I'll always remember him, because he was a good guy. And that's what the Paranormal and Ghost Society is about. It's about meeting the good guys, not the bad ones. And I like working alongside good people. And those people believe in me as a leader. And we work very hard at what we do. And it's a learning experience. And, I like people to at least do anything they can to prevent drinking and driving, because it's not moral. And let's face it, those that do it usually have no control over their vehicle, let alone themselves. So on the 21st, I'd like everybody at least to show no hate, just to show a little peace, a little bit of love, and just to try to remember him. Because it's, we work so hard, we go out there in the middle of the night, and we camp out in the cold, we hike down lonely, dark roads, and it's really dangerous. But we're doing it because we want to bring the truth to our members, to our fans, to people out there who want to learn about the paranormal. And sometimes bad things happen, and we just have to learn from it, and we have to move on. So you never forget those that sacrifice themselves for a good cause. So at least try to remember him, and that's basically my memorial speech. I want everybody to at least take that moment of silence. Now on the paranormal articles, we're going to cover a few articles. Some of them I might read, some of them I might just highlight during this radio program. One of those is about the dinosaurs dying a painful death, full of agony. And basically what it is that they're finding a lot of fossils that show that the dinosaurs had died painfully based on how their neck was arched or their bodies were positioned. And they said that the death was asphyxiation, possibly from volcanic ash, perhaps flooding such as tsunamis. I mean, the Gulf of Mexico shows signs that an asteroid had hit there. An impact like that would create tidal waves thousands of feet up. Something like that, just if it were to hit a dinosaur, it would cause all the bones to shatter. Or, if the supervolcano went off, all that ash would be in the atmosphere, and that's what they would be breathing. They wouldn't have a lot of oxygen to breathe, and the ash would get up in the lungs, and they would die, and they'd be immobile, and eventually they would breathe in the mud and swallow it, and it would be a very painful death, I could imagine. We don't know what happened during that time period, but if what happened there wiped out most of the dinosaurs, imagine if it happened in today's world. Imagine if a giant asteroid hit this planet. How many millions would die due to tidal waves alone? It wouldn't even be just the impact on land. The tsunamis it would generate would wipe out entire coastal cities, especially one that would be traveling hundreds of miles an hour. That would be approximately 1,000 feet in height, maybe a couple thousand feet in height. I mean, it would just topple buildings, people in the buildings. So I try to think about it from that view. And imagine, the dinosaurs, they find all the bones preserved, but there is signs, of instant petrification. These dinosaurs, a tsunami hit them, and they rolled in the mud, and they were just flowing around, and volcanoes were going off and burying them in lava beds. And it was just a horrible scenario. And I believe that many different races and species become extinct eventually. Mankind just happened to get lucky a few times, but who knows what's a man killer going to be? It could be something as simple as a virus. I don't know. But that was one of the articles that I was reading today, and I found that quite interesting. Then there was an article that came out about an Angus couple, some older people that had their roof smashed in by a 5-kilogram ice cube. And of course, more than likely, it fell out of an airliner. But this is becoming a more common denominator in a lot of cities where ice is just dropping out of the sky. And they said that they call them ice meteors, because what happens is when it's larger than a square foot, and at that size, it'll, about 1,000 feet, In elevation, when it gains inertia at a speed of around 250 miles an hour, it becomes very dangerous. And it did damage these people's roofs. And they're very fortunate that it didn't go through the roof and hit them or cause some sort of injury or whatever the case is. But being that it's almost as powerful as an ice asteroid, or we say an ice meteor, more than likely if it were to hit you, there would probably be very little left of you. So you have to be thankful for each day you live life, because, you know, certainly people die from illness or they die from car accidents, but death by particles falling out of the sky, meteorites, ice chunks, things of that sort, it's very unlikely, but it is a probable factor. And then there was another story that I sent out about fridge hens, and they said that it was dismantled. And the article states that made from over 100 refrigerators, fridge hens was put together at a location near Santa Fe, New Mexico, 10 years ago by an artist, Adam Horowitz. Recent high winds toppled many of the units, and the rest was finally removed last month by city officials who regarded it as a safety hazard. Well, my simple opinion, don't recreate the ancient past. I don't think anybody can recreate it. Of course, art comes in many different forms. And I seen the picture, I thought it was kind of interesting. It was an interesting little creation put together by the artist, and it's a shame that the winds had damaged it. But unfortunately, places like these, they become vandalized. I see it all the time. Something that looks good never seemed to last, especially if it's built by man during this time period, as opposed to thousands of years ago, like Easter Island or Stonehenge. Replicas, just don't do it for me. That's my answer. And the next story I want to share caught my eye. It's not really paranormal, but up in St. Petersburg, 3 men hooked an 8-foot bull shark a couple weeks ago that weighed more than 600 pounds. And I thought this was interesting because basically, you know, from my experience being a fisherman and in the ocean, a lot of our bigger sharks are dying off. They're overfished, they're becoming extinct, and it's just becoming more difficult for them to breed. And, you know, we're dealing with million-year-old creatures. But anyways, it took several hours for these guys to get it in. You know, the thing is about a shark is that it doesn't matter how good the test line is or whatever the case is. These are pretty strong creatures. I've seen what they can do. I've caught a 3-foot shark myself, and mine was 3 feet, and it took me a while to bring it in. And I mean, it's just a whole different fight when you're fishing. And here I am, I'm talking about fishing, and it's a paranormal radio show. That's the Paranormal Ghost Society for you. But anyways, you know, I thought it was very interesting because I spend a lot of time dealing with sharks. I go fishing up at the inlet. There's a lighthouse. It's a little bay, and you know, you can go about 200-300 feet out into the water, and it doesn't get too deep. Eventually, it drops off, and you know, you can go up to your neck. I'm probably about the only person who does go up to my neck, and I'll put chum and I'll put shrimp up in my pocket, and I get sharks that swim by me all the time. I get fins that pop out of the water. I look at the bottom 4 or 5 feet down, and you'll see what appears to be bull sharks and other species of sharks swimming on the bottom. I haven't been bitten yet or attacked. It could likely happen, but I find that if you respect these creatures and you don't show them any fear, they'll leave you alone. So I thought it was an interesting article, and yeah, that's quite a big bull shark. I mean, they're one of the more aggressive sharks, and a lot of the shark attacks that take place in most countries are from bull sharks. But they said the weight was about 650 to 700 pounds. It was almost 9 feet. That's a pretty big bull shark. That thing could tear you limb from limb, and you wouldn't even know it in no time. And so, you know, sharks have always fascinated me because they're ancient creatures. maybe even paranormal in one way or another, because there's still a lot of mystery surrounding them. So that's just something to think about. And our last article of the night is about Bigfoot sighting raises hairs. Up in the Lima Township along McCord Road, there's some Martian woods that has a wildlife sanctuary. And a Delavan couple had stepped into the realm of the unknown. Basically, the article is about how a couple one night was driving along the road and they seen a creature about 7 feet in height, over 300 pounds, cross the road in 2 steps. It didn't even pay any mind to them. It just crossed the road, and they kept their mouths shut for a couple years, and eventually that area did have an investigator or cryptozoologist from California go out there to investigate the case. And they didn't really find too much. Of course, sightings are very far and a few in between, but a lot of sightings come from credible witnesses, religious people, people who have families, cops, military personnel. It's just endless. And there has to be something out there, something we don't know. It's one of the reasons why I'm moving out west, because I really want to get up into Bigfoot country. I want to go out there, I want to camp, I want to get this creature. I want to get a picture, I want to get cast, I want to get evidence that it exists, because I want to find out what it is. But anyways, the story goes on to tell how seeing such a creature is a life-changing experience. And, I mean, obviously it is, because how do you deal with something that's more superior than the human race? I mean, can you imagine standing next to something that's 7 to 10 feet tall and just looking at it? How do you muster up the courage to grab the camera and snap a photo of this thing, knowing this thing's 300, 600, even 800 pounds, and can easily tear you apart limb from limb? Anyways, a lot of the locals have seen the creature, and they're kind of keeping it hush-hush. It's kind of like this area up near me. There's this area where they see Bigfoot. A lot of people have seen them, but the town doesn't want to talk about it. I've been up in those woods out here in Florida, and I'll tell you what, you talk about a terrifying experience. I've been stuck. I've had my car stuck in those woods and had to dig it out by hand in the middle of the night. And there's things moving around, you know this thing's out there, and you know that you can hear branches breaking and it moving around, watching, and you know it's out there. It's just your lucky night that you're not going to be torn apart. Most Bigfoot are gentle, but if it feels intimidating enough, like any animal, I'm sure it could attack. I'm sure it could defend its territory. But anyways, the couple that's seen it, they drove past the spot where he was, and they looked over, and it wasn't there anymore. This thing moves fast. So it's a matter of a right time and place. You know, you might capture this thing, might be in the middle of eating and dining on a deer. It's a scavenger, so it's trying to find plants and dead animals and things it can eat. I don't think it's much of a hunter type of creature. And you're driving down a logging road, or you cut down a dirt road, and you know, sometimes you just run into these things. And we do a lot of Bigfoot investigations. It may not show on our site, but half of our investigations are Bigfoot orientated. I mean, yeah, we look for the ghost in the woods, we add them to the site, the ecto shots, the orbs, but really, I'm out there looking for other creatures of the night. And of course, that's what I enjoyed about going up to the Kanzua Dam area, because it's a mysterious area with a lot of Bigfoot activity. It's always an adventure when you go off into the mountains and the woods and you're driving down logging roads and getting out of your car and hiking down trails at night. It's an adventure of a lifetime. I recommend anybody that wants to join my team, if you like the outdoors, this is the team for you. Because we're going to be doing a lot of Bigfoot investigations out west. And I'm still going to do a few more before I leave Florida. But the article was very interesting. And, you know, it talks about how the hairs on the person's body stand up. And it's no wonder. This is a creature that you got to respect. But it's also a creature that puts fear into people. And that's why it's able to survive as long as it has. Maybe one day we'll capture one, who knows? I'd prefer if they didn't capture one, because all it's going to be is a test subject. But nobody really knows where they come from, if they come from another world, a portal, a dimension, if they're just physical creatures we haven't discovered. Maybe they live in the hollow earth. Nobody really knows. But I know the Indians had a good relationship for hundreds of years with the Sasquatch because they respected the forest, took what they need, and they respected this creature. Unlike human beings who go into the forest, we hunt, we overhunt, we take more than what we need. And maybe these things are here just to guard the forest. So these are things just to speculate upon. And I think today's show, that's going to be a wrap-up. I think we covered a lot about our group and our organization, and about a few articles, and about the memorial for my friend for the 21st. And I'm glad I was able to cover a lot of these things. This is a pretty positive radio show. I'm going to continue to keep doing radio shows. If there's any problem with the site that hosts my radio shows, I'll host them myself on my site. It really doesn't matter. I just want to spread the truth, get the word out there. I'd like to say I love my fans, I love my members. Over and out. You've been listening to Angel of Thy Night Radio, and until next time, the truth is out there.